All right, guys. Hey, I wanted to take a time today just to share a little bit about the stocks I trade and how to choose the right stocks, especially as a beginner day trader like myself and someone like you possibly who is learning how to day trade for the first time. And it can be tough to pick the right stocks. After all, I have picked a lot of different stocks over the last several months. I mean, as you can tell here in August on Friday, I chose VSEE, BBLG. Let's see here, other stocks, NUZE, IMNN, YABO, CREV, DRMA, RDZN, CNSP. Honestly, you probably look at a lot of these different stocks and you're like, how did you know to choose those stocks overall, and how do you pick them, and what are the criteria and things like that? So in this video, I wanted to take time to share how I choose these stocks, how I pick these stocks, and how you can go about to do exactly the same thing. Now, I'm going to be honest right off the bat. I am not doing this from my own cognitive. I didn't figure this all out myself. I had help. I had a mentor that I follow. And honestly, he has been a great mentor to me as somebody who has showed me how to pick the right stocks. So, choosing these stocks can be hard as somebody is a beginner and coming up with a trading plan. This can be hard to do because you don't know a lot of things. I didn't know a lot of things, and I had to have someone kind of just take my hand and show me. So that person always for me is my mentor, Ross Cameron. Now you can go out and check out his videos. I'm going to link to his actual video on how he picks stocks. I followed his analysis, how he does this, his process, and followed his training. I'll link to that video. You can definitely check it out. It'll definitely go a lot more in depth. For me, this is just how I pick it. This is what I do. So you can follow this, but I definitely recommend checking out his video, subscribing to his YouTube channel, because he is really the one that taught me all this. So it is not from my thoughts. It's more from what he has taught me, and I've taken what he has done and just kind of went with it and started trading based on that. So one of the first steps though, so if you want, go ahead and find that video and get with that. But one of the first things you're going to do is you're going to need a stock screener. You're going to need a tool to help you find the right stocks in the first place. And then from there, we can screen out the ones that are going to be the most probable stocks to work with. And as you notice from a lot of the stocks that I choose, these aren't normal companies like you see every day, like Nvidia, Facebook, Disney, Walmart, Amazon. These are not those stocks. Those are not the stocks we're going to be trading. The stocks we're going to be trading are based on a very specific set of criteria. As you can tell, I mean, you probably never heard of VSEE or BBLG because, these aren't mainstream stocks, I would say. These are stocks that exist in a small cap stock. So a large cap stock would be something like Walmart, Nvidia, Tesla. Those are large cap stocks. Why are they large cap? Because they have higher market caps. They're typically a lot more expensive as a stock, and those go in a different category called a large cap stock or a blue chip stock. Technically those are what those would be. So we don't trade those. I trade small cap stocks. These are stocks that are much smaller companies. They might have just had an IPO, initial public offering, and they're typically a lot cheaper for me to buy into and things like that. And those are some of the criteria. So let's get into that. So to start, let's look at just what those stocks. So for example, VSEE would be that stock right there. But the first thing we need to do is we need to do a screener. And the screener I recommend is this one right here. This is the real-time stock screener. Now what's great about this, it's free to download. There is paid plans. I don't use those. And I like this app. You can download it on Google Play or the App Store, any of those places. They have them there. So I love this screener because it doesn't require any programming. As a beginner, that can be a little bit tricky because you might set it up wrong. And that's why I recommend this app, because you can just download it and start, using it. You don't need to figure out all these complicated settings and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to jump in. I took a couple screenshots of this particular app. So they have two settings here that work really good. The first is the pre-market setting. So what I love about this is it's just showing me what are the top gainers, and you can click these tabs at the top to see which is the cheaper price. You can do them alphabetically, cheaper price. You can see what is the biggest gainer at that point. So like in this particular one, I was looking at the top gainer, and VSEE was the top gainer, and you can sort by volume or float as well. So the first thing we want to look at is overall, we want to have this screener in place, and then we want to look for the second thing is price. We don't want to be higher than 20, but we don't want to be less than $1. So between $1 and $20, that's the second piece of criteria that I'm looking for. So why did I choose VSEE? It's because, well, number one, it was above $1, and number two, it was percentage wise, it was up. So I would say. So the first criteria was price, obviously. Just looking at my notes here, but price is number one. So once we're on this app, this is what I'm looking at in the morning. So my process is kind of like this. I'm looking at the top stocks on the list, and typically as long as it's above $1, so VSE obviously makes that cut right away, $6.35, and then it should be up by 10% or better. So obviously, you can tell the top gainer was 160% over. So VSEE made that cut. It was definitely that high. And then volume. What kind of volume do we look at? Now, it's saying 12 million in volume, which is pretty good, but we don't know if that's enough relative to the stock itself. So how do we figure that out? So when I go to this right here on Webull, now that's the trading platform that I use, but you can use any one that you're comfortable with. You can use E-Trade or Thinkorswim or any of those. They all work. I recommend commission-free brokerages simply because it's cheaper as a beginner. You don't have to pay commissions and all that stuff. It's a great way to learn and not spend a whole lot of money. Now, if you use Webull, you will have to pay after the first 30 days. We'll have to pay, I think it's like $3 or $4 a month for the level 2 data, which pretty cheap, not expensive. You're not spending $100 a month to do all that, which is great. So I want to look at, like, for example, on VSEE, I want to look at what kind of volume we got here. So that's the next criteria. So average volume is 932,000 shares on an average day. And right now we're at 47 million shares. So you can tell, I mean, just on an average, we're up probably 47 times trading this stock. So, you know, if it's traded an average of 1 million times, this is traded 47 times more than that. So we can see here on this particular space here on this particular stock here, that we're trading much higher than our normal volume. And so those are some clues. Those are the things I'm looking at. So when we go back to this, so volume is up. At the time we were trading, that stock was up 47 million. At the end of the day, it was down to 12 million, but still up quite a bit. And then let's see, what else do we look at? We look at Catalyst. So Catalyst would be news. What is some news about this stock? And I think there was some news on this stock. Can't remember. I think it was something to do, because this is a pharmaceutical stock. I think it was something to do with robotics or something along that line. Can't remember exactly, but there was news on this stock, and it actually happened the day before. So this was the day before, and all of a sudden we got news on this stock, and let's see, shares double to plan for robotics to assist in ICUs. So there was this news that had come out about the stock, and that was the obvious reason why this had made this big move. And that's a lot of reasons why a stock will move up in the market, simply because there is news about it and it gets people trading it. And a lot of times trading algorithms will pick up this news and start trading automatically on these stocks. So now I didn't make that move. I didn't get in that move particularly. I got in a move way up in here the next day. I think right at 7 o'clock. I think it was this move right here I got into. So traded very good. Was a good move. But that's how I picked that stock. So that was the reasoning. So it was up 10%. We were that. Now the last thing I look at is let's go back to that here, is the float. So float, now you might be wondering, what is float? Float is the supply of a stock. So this would be, for example, 4.64 million shares are the float. This is the amount of shares that of common stock that can be traded on the open market that people aren't holding for long term and stuff like that. There are people that are buying and selling rapidly. So this is 4.6 million shares. So when you look at it, if we got 447 million shares, that means this stock has been traded about, exchanged hands about 10 times, meaning it's been moving back and forth. So 10 people have probably owned it within a day's period, bought and sold within a day's period, which is great because this is exactly what we're looking for. We're looking for a small amount. And that means what's going to happen there is going to push this stock up higher and higher. It's going to have more of a chance to do that. Not saying it will, but it gives us that better supply. You know, if you have a less supply and more people want it, the demand is higher. That means it's going to force the stock up higher. So that's just the general thinking behind why we choose this. So let me go back through all of those again. So real quick here, we start with the very first thing we want is the price. We want between 1 and 20. So in this case, we're at 425 at the close of this stock. So that meets the criteria. Number 2, we want to be up 10%. So this stock was up, I think at the time was up 161%. So that's check. We meet that criteria. Number 2, we had news on the stock, which was this entire ICU robotics thing. So that was a good thing. That was a big piece of news. You know, overall, can't tell you if that was going to be good or bad. It tended to be really good for this stock. Made a pretty good move on Friday with it, so it helped out with that. And then, so then we had to also look at relative volume. So that was the next piece. It was up by 47 million over just under 1 million shares typically traded. So that was good. And then the float itself was low as well, between 1 and 20, at least under 20 million. So the lower the better, obviously, because that will help our chances of forcing the stock up higher because it's got a low supply and then demand was high overall. So as you can tell, that is how I choose a stock. So an easy way to do that, again, go to these screeners right here that I showed you in the beginning here, this stock screener right here, real-time stock screener. You download that stock and you can easily see the stocks that I'm picking. Now, I want to talk about this stock screener for just a little bit, how I'm looking at this. Now, there are some stocks that are going to show up in here, like these penny stocks, like XCUR. This is at 80 cents. This is typically not a stock that I'm going to trade. Or BJDJ. This is a stock I probably wouldn't be looking at. And there's a reason for that. Even though it's got percentages up, it's below 20 million on the float. It looks good from that perspective, but what it doesn't have going for it is that it's too cheap. And you might be thinking, why, Chris? Why wouldn't you buy this? I mean, you could buy 1,000 shares of this for $650 or $800, and you can make an easier gain that way. And the problem with that is penny stocks tend to have a lower range, meaning they might only go up 5, maybe 10 cents a share at most. And the other thing with penny stocks is they trade at 1/100th of a cent. So meaning they are not going to see these bigger gains like something that's up $1 or $2, cost $1 or $2, and they're going to have a much higher range and possibly go up something like $1, $2, $3. You know, you're going to see that if you're in that range, you're going to see it going up higher versus a stock that is only trading 1/100th of a cent. So I don't tend to trade those. So when I'm looking at these screeners, I would look at VSEE, I would look at MKDW, I would skip these two because they're penny stocks, and then I would look at TBIO and I would say, well, you know what, 1 million in volume, 2 million float, that's pretty good. $5.31, we're up over 10, so I'd be looking at that on my watch list. And then let's see, AKAN, $1.77, 22% up, 8 million, 2 million. Okay, so that's looking good. Then we got another penny stock just below $1. I think I would also avoid this one because it's above our 20 million float and it's below our dollar between our $1 and $20 pick. And then TNDM, we would avoid this one because it's over $20 a share. It's got 65 million in float. Nope, not going to trade that one. Going to stay away from that one. And let's see what else we got. MBRX, $2.64. So that's good. It's up above 10% gap. It's got a 40,480,000 in volume. This volume's probably low, and my guess is if I would look at this stock, it's very thinly traded because it's so far down this list already. Not saying people wouldn't trade it. You know, if it started creeping up the list, people are going to start looking at it more, and that's just the way it is. The stocks that are at the top of the list are going to get the most eyeballs, you know, overall. And if it's trading inside the parameters that I normally trade, it's definitely going to have a lot of eyeballs on it. Like in this one, it's got 12 million, and 12 million isn't like a huge amount of volume. There's obviously some stocks that are trading more, like this one right here, but it's a penny stock, so that's not as good. And there's going to be days where I pull this up and like it's like 5 or 6 penny stocks right in a row, and it's like it's kind of a letdown sometimes because I'm like, well, these aren't the ones I typically will pick, and then I might check them out just to see what kind of range they got and stuff like that. But overall, I just like to stay away from it because I just don't like those stocks. And penny stocks can also have things like along with them, like pump and dump schemes and stuff like that. So I try to avoid all that. I try to stay away from that, and I try to pick stocks that are obviously just fit the criteria because it's in my trading strategy. That's what I want. That's where I want to stay. I don't want to start venturing outside of my trading strategy. You know, and sometimes days it's easy. You can get bored and be like, well, what's this stock doing? Or what's Tesla doing? Or what's this cheap 5-cent penny stock doing, you know? And I don't want to do those stocks. I don't want to do those. So I stay with this within my parameters on my trading plan. I don't get crazy. I don't do things that aren't worth it. So I just start looking at the stock and I say, hey, this has a potential to really make the right move within my trading parameters and really do the things I want it to do. So I hope this video helps you out, helps you find the right stock, help you pick the right stocks, kind of give you an idea where I'm coming from, what I'm picking. Now, I want to mention that you know, my performance is not guaranteed. There's no guarantee of any sort when you trade in the stock market. I'm a beginner. I'm just learning this. I also recommend you go check out Ross's channel, Warrior Trading. Ross Cameron, that's who it is. I got a link to that below in this video. Definitely go check out his stuff. Subscribe to his YouTube channel because he is my mentor. He's the one that is teaching all this. I'm using what I'm teaching this here. I'm putting this out here because I want you to see what I'm trading, why I'm picking what I am. And there's a method to my madness and everything here. You know, I'm not just willy-nilly picking stocks because it's something that I don't know, or I'm just guessing. I'm not guessing. I don't want to guess. I want to pick the right thing. I want to pick the stocks that are definitely the ones that are going to help me grow my business, help me grow my trading as I go forward. And those are why I picked that. So if you'd like to follow along and learn as I learn, and follow me as a beginner and start learning to trade, you can do that. Go check out my channel, Trading with Chris, and I will see you in the next video.